Hello everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome to my channel. Today's video really made me angry, like a lot. Essentially what happened was that OP planned their entire wedding and their partner didn't contribute to anything at all, and they were over an hour late to their own wedding. And the reason for all of this is why I was extremely infuriated. I do hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Anyway, onto the story. Here's a wedding story for y'all. My own from about 2 days ago. My wife and I, who are a same-gender couple, got married on Saturday, and it's safe to say that the ceremony was an absolute disaster. I'm mostly just venting. Hopefully it makes someone feel better about their own wedding. They say something goes wrong with every wedding, right? A lot went wrong with mine. My wife is a serial procrastinator. It is excruciatingly frustrating. She's close to perfect if you disregard this fact. We were engaged for about 18 months before the wedding and did not want to talk about the wedding at all until literally 4 weeks before. I had to practically force her to help with any planning at all in the 17 months before the month of the wedding. I did almost 90% of the planning, but it was insanely difficult and frustrating because there were things that I obviously wanted and needed her input on before I could do. There were very few things that were her responsibility to organize, and she organized practically nothing. Some examples of things that happened due to her procrastination or things that she was meant to do but didn't. She ordered her dress online 2 weeks before the wedding. Amazingly, it arrived on time. Helped me pick a photographer since I was struggling to find a good one. She said she could handle it. She didn't. 2 days before the wedding, I asked an old friend who is a semi-professional photographer if he could do it, and luckily he could. Never told me what flowers she wanted, so I could never organize with a florist what flowers to order. We brought our bouquets from the local wedding store the night before the wedding. I Frankensteined my own bouquet with a few different of the store bouquets, but it admittedly looked very nice. She didn't like any arbors, so she said that she would build one. She works in a manual labor job and does woodworking, so it would have been a piece of cake. She did not make this arbor. Buy a bubble machine. She didn't. Practice the song we wanted to sing at the reception together as our quote-unquote first song instead of first dance. She never practiced, nor did she ever want to practice together, so we didn't sing it. Buy or rent microphones. She didn't. Organize a translator for her family since they don't speak English. She didn't. Organize movers to help transport chairs and decorations and the non-existent arbor. We had to make multiple trips in my mom's tiny car to transport all the chairs and decorations, and I decorated and set up the entire ceremony and reception myself with the help of one uncle. She did not go to her hair and makeup appointment. She threw her hair together and wore no makeup, which is fine but not what she wanted. She wrote her vows the morning of the wedding. Other than these things that she was meant to do and organize, I organized every other single thing in the wedding, which was a lot, since she didn't want to contribute at all. The ceremony was meant to start at 3:30 p.m., with guests arriving at 3:15. I arrived with all the decorations and set up at 2:20. I bought my dress along with me and got changed at the venue after setting up, after getting my hair and makeup done earlier, and I was sweaty from setting up chairs and decorations. The guests all arrived on time, including her relatives, who previously mentioned did not speak English, who I barely speak any of the same language with. They kept trying to take photos of me even though I kept telling them clear no's, and they would practically pull me aside and physically force me to take photos, which then made my family think that they could take photos, despite firmly saying no. My wife ended up arriving at 4:30, an hour after the ceremony was meant to start, and at the very end of the time we had booked for the venue. The venue was nice enough to let us continue past the time we booked. Waiting for my wife to arrive was excruciating. I kept phoning away, asking where she was, and she'd say 10 minutes away for an hour and a half. She was so late because she was still trying to build the arbor despite having no way of transporting it, and because she had not written her vows yet. The only person who kept me sane throughout the waiting was our celebrant. My family kept watching me, waiting for me to react, and I felt extremely observed. So I hung out with the celebrant since she was the only one actually distracting me from the situation instead of asking me questions I couldn't answer. The questions being, where's my wife? What time will wife get here? Etc. It was horrible and I legit wanted to die a little bit. Luckily, my wife did arrive and her vows were very beautiful. The celebrant made multiple jokes at my wife's expense about her hour's tardiness, but they were actually pretty helpful because no one else gave her additional crap for it later on. So basically the entire ceremony was a mess. The saving grace to the entire wedding was that the reception was absolutely bomb. Minus the lack of song and microphone for speeches, it was honestly perfect and went so much better than I could have possibly expected it to, and was so incredibly fun and amazing. And because it ended on such a good note, the guests all ended up being very happy. The two good things to come out of my wife's extreme tardiness: she's never allowed to be mad at me again for being late to something, ever, for the rest of our lives. And everyone's opinion of me skyrocketed because I did not lose my crap and stayed patient. Externally, almost every guest told me that I had the patience of an angel and couldn't believe that I could handle the situation. Again, externally. Now that it's kind of over and I'm on my honeymoon, I'm kind of trapped between two mindsets of being pretty pissed at how things happened and how we missed out on doing so many of the things we wanted, all because my wife did not organize a single thing she said that she would organize, and the mindset of what's done is done and there's no point worrying about it because it's happened and is over and there is nothing that can be changed. So what's the point of stressing about it and being angry? It has definitely awoken me to the extent of my wife's procrastination though, and I'm going to constantly lie to her in the future about the times things start and the dates important things happen so that we are, and that she's not late to important things in the future, which I've already begun doing by lying about our honeymoon's flights. Wish me luck, y'all. I did not expect this to blow up the way that it did. At the time, I just needed to rant about how disappointed I was, but the responses gave me a lot to think about. My wife and I had a big sit-down talk, and I asked her why she truly procrastinated and what was going on in her mind. She basically said this: she wanted everything to be perfect to the extent that she couldn't do it. She was so stressed that everything had to be 100% perfect and was so scared that it wouldn't meet her expectations, she was too scared to start. And once she got into the habit of feeling that way and the amount of anxiety regarding the wedding, she couldn't break out of it until a month in, when it became dire and it didn't matter if it was perfect anymore. It just needed to be done. She is very disappointed in herself for falling into this pattern with the wedding. She said that it happened a lot at university with her assignments, and she always wrote them the day of, and they always ended up fine. She never really had any consequences. She truly didn't think about how stressed I would be and how embarrassing it would be for me if she was so late. And she forgot that the venue booking was only until 4:30. She feels this is the first time she's had any real consequences for procrastinating, being my misery. I believe her when she said how sorry she was and how terrible she felt. She said she felt a lot of shame for making me take the brunt of the work and basically standing me up for an hour because she got herself in such a stressed state because she was obsessed with it being perfect. She said that when she felt stressed up until that last moment, she felt like she was in a bad mood when she planned it. She'd be in a bad mood on the day and not enjoy the wedding. We talked about whether that was logical or not, and she agreed that it wasn't, but that she just couldn't do it when she felt bad, which was all the time since she was stressing about it being perfect. It unfortunately ended with her not really contributing a single thing to the wedding planning and organizing because she felt unable to break out of this mindset. As for the day of, she felt she underestimated how long it would take to do things and honestly lost track of time. She did indeed want to marry me, and her wedding avoiding wasn't due to that. I had that thought during the planning or lack of planning, and she assured me that she wanted to get married. She was also the one who said that she wanted to get married, and legally we got married before the wedding without any difficulty. She also did want the wedding, and how it was planned ticked most of the buckets for things that she wanted. I did not force her into a marriage or wedding that she didn't want, like 50% of the comments were suggesting. She admitted that there were a few things that she would have done a bit differently, but recognized that with the approaching deadline, stuff just needed doing and I couldn't keep waiting for her. I will bring up the ADHD later because it was a bit much to bring up all in one conversation, but I will bring it up and I'll keep an eye out for anything else that possibly matches. We're both autistic but have very different strengths and weaknesses. I assumed that our differences were different presentations of autism and didn't even consider that she might have an additional neurodiversity. I appreciate how many people were angry on my behalf. I had crossed into apathy a bit to cope, I think. Thanks to everyone who responded. I really do appreciate everyone's opinions and concerns. So guys, what did you think? I know that at the beginning of the video, I said that I was very infuriated by the reason, which was procrastination from OP's partner. I think one of the reasons is that I really felt empathy when OP's partner said that they used to procrastinate their assignments to the very end. I know that I've done that on more than a handful of times. Like, it used to be my default when I was starting university. But after a couple of near misses, I was sort of able to correct that about myself and was able to fix that trajectory. I understand that a combination of procrastination and perfection can be debilitating at times, but I really think that some people need to learn to be able to manage it just so that they don't hurt their significant other, or even other people, you know? Anyway, I do hope that you enjoyed this story. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And please subscribe if you'd like to hear more stories from Reddit with updates.